Hello and welcome to HateWatchers. Today we're kicking off our comedy review series of The Last of Us, a new show on HBO adapted from the wildly successful video game series of the same name. But we'll talk a bit more about that at the end of the video. For now, let's get right into the breakdown for episode 1, When You're Lost in the Darkness. And it goes without saying, but spoilers ahead. We begin in 1968, where some doctors are talking about the future of pandemics, with one asserting that fungal infections will take over. He predicts that global warming, go figure, would lead to fungal infections becoming an issue, and he name drops the cordyceps infection from the games. We jump ahead to 2003, where a girl who's slightly more diverse than her video game counterpart wakes up her father Joel, our hero of the show. It's Joel's birthday, and his daughter Sarah is making him a crappy breakfast. Joel's slightly more diverse brother Tommy comes in when he smells free food. Joel's slightly more diverse daughter goes into his room and steals his money and his watch. Their neighbor is stuffing food into an old woman's mouth. We follow Sarah to her classroom where everyone is admiring George W. Bush because they're in Austin, Texas. Sarah takes the bus to the shady part of town where she's trying to trade the watch for smack, but then the manager comes in and kicks her out of the store. She comes home and visits the neighbors. While looking for things to steal off of the bookshelf, the old lady behind her starts to spasm and seize out. Sarah collects her stolen goods and leaves to head home when she notices the dog staring strangely at the old lady, but she probably just farted. When Sarah heads outside, some jets fly overhead. Joel comes home late and Sarah gives him a present, the watch she stole from him earlier. How thoughtful. She comes clean about her criminal way of life.
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. It was only $20, which I stole from you.
Sarah passes out from a long, hard day of thieving, and Joel gets a call from Tommy who's in jail and needs Joel to come bail him out. Joel tosses Sarah into her bed like trash, and she's eventually woken up by helicopters and fireworks. Not one to waste an opportunity, Sarah goes next door to Mrs. Adler's looking for more things to steal, but all she finds is Granny Adler eating Mr. and Mrs. Adler alive. Realizing Sarah is the one who stole her favorite DVD, Granny attacks her, but Joel and Tommy arrive and put Granny in her place, which is the morgue. Joel is tired of Denise's shit.
Joel! Denise, get back inside the house!
The three get into the truck and hit the road, heading out of town, going past Detroit. They see some people begging for money and blow them off. They head off-road looking for a way past the military blockade and end up cutting through town, but it's Black Friday and their path is blocked. The narcoleptic pilot training program is apparently still active as a plane crashes behind them, knocking them out. They come to and see the chaos around them on the street, including this chick trying to make out with one of the corpses. The narcoleptic police officer program is alive and well too. Tommy decides he might as well take advantage of some of the Black Friday deals while he's out. Joel and Sarah run into your average homeless person and make a run for it. A soldier takes out the infected bum chasing them and tells them to freeze. The soldier then raises his rifle and Joel says, "I have a negative COVID test in my back pocket," but the soldier doesn't care and opens fire anyway. He's going to execute Joel when Tommy shows up and kills the soldier. Luckily, Tommy found a good deal on ammo when he was out. Sarah, on the other hand, is hit, and Joel keeps poking the wound to make sure she's not faking it. If she is faking it, she takes it too far and dies. We jump ahead 20 years where a child of the corn is stumbling around outside of Boston. The kid shambles to the quarantine zone where some guards pick him up and take him to the emergency room. We see some posters that we assume are taken straight out of the game. The kid has a wound on his leg, and the soldier makes some false promises, while another soldier immunizes him from life. Cutting across town, the human barbecue is underway, and we see Joel pitching in, and the little boy is on the menu. Some people are painting over a firefly symbol, and the town is here for their daily entertainment. Executions for those who left the quarantine zone. Joel meets up with a soldier who's looking to score some dope. The soldier tells Joel that the fireflies are getting out of hand, blowing shit up all over the place. We meet Tess for the first time, who's negotiating with Robert, the local kingpin, when the wall spontaneously combusts, courtesy of the fireflies. Tess gets arrested by the fashion police, and rightfully so. We cut to Ellie, who's chained up as she undergoes some tests, and we quickly find out that she's just as surly as her video game counterpart. Joel checks with the radio tech to see if he's gotten any messages from Tommy, but he hasn't, so Joel makes him show him where Tommy's at in Wyoming. Joel heads home and pulls out his stash of weapons and gear, getting drunk to summon the courage to make the trip out there. Tess comes in and molests him when he's unconscious, but at least she made him coffee the next morning. Then she complains about Zoomers.
Like a 19-year-old pieces of shit.
Tess recruits Joel to go beat the shit out of Robert, just like in the game, so they can retrieve the battery they need for a truck. We meet Marlene as she tells her Firefly underling that they're skipping town, taking the girl they've locked up westward. Returning to Ellie, Marlene frees her and tells her a super duper secret that even the audience isn't allowed to hear. Tess and Joel go rummaging through the sewers because it's date night. Their good time out gets ruined when they come across an infected stuck to a wall. They arrive to fuck up Robert to find Robert already fucked up and their battery is destroyed. Joel and Tess find Marlene wounded and Ellie attacks him so he blasts her into a wall. Tess makes an apt assessment of Marlene.
The Che Guevara of Boston?
Marlene can't make the trip with Ellie now that she's wounded and without a truck, so she contracts Joel and Tess to take Ellie out to her people. They agree, and Marlene has some encouraging words for Joel.
Don't fuck this up.
While they wait for the cover of darkness, Ellie decides to read the dictionary to Joel. He's not a fan. Joel, Ellie, and Tess head out of the quarantine zone, and Ellie's excited for her first field trip. They get caught by the drug-buying guard from earlier, and he tells them to get on their knees. An expert on getting on her knees, Tess is quick to comply.
Just get on your knees. Just get on your knees.
The guard scans them, and Joel's PTSD kicks in, and he savagely murders the pill-popping guard. Tess discovers that Ellie's scan came back positive, and she freaks out, but they don't have time to ask questions, and they get out of there. We see a shot of the decrepit city, and hear some infected, and the episode comes to an end. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this series premiere episode was a great watch or a hate watch. And this episode was a great watch. We think it did an incredible job at grabbing the casual viewer's attention and pulling them into the story right away, as well as staying mostly true to how the events in this episode played out in the first game. As mentioned earlier, The Last of Us is an original video game series consisting of 2 games thus far, The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. Both were very popular, highly rated, award-winning games touted for their excellent storytelling. And the storytelling was almost too much of a focus at times, with some complaining that they didn't feel like they were playing a game, they were just watching a movie and interacting here and there. So naturally, The Last of Us games easily lend themselves to a show or movie format. And I would argue that the game's creative lead, Neil Druckmann's goal, was to be in Hollywood all along. Now, we never played the games, but we knew the basics of the story before watching complete playthroughs of both games in preparation for this show. So our knowledge of the events of the game is going to be pretty damn good, but not quite perfect. With that background out of the way, let's get back to the review. These days, it's almost jarring when a show or movie sticks pretty close to the source material, and this premiere episode did just that, for the most part. Several scenes in the early going were shot for shot, line for line identical to those in the game. Sarah giving Joel his watch and the truck ride out of town were some examples of scenes lifted right out of the game. Some minor things were changed here and there. For example, Sarah never goes over to the Adlers after the outbreak. They get knocked out during a car crash, not because of a plane crash. And I certainly don't remember Fedra, the militarized FEMA knockoff, having a fucking helicopter flying around. That part just seemed dumb. They can't get car batteries, but they can keep this helicopter fueled for 20 years? There was nothing about Tommy being in trouble and Joel needing to go find him, and the years that these events take place have been changed. Oh, and it's Hollywood in 2023, so there's been some race-swapped characters. But the general spirit and the important events in this episode are all true to the source material. As for the characters, all of their video game personalities thus far are intact. It's nice to see that Ellie is going to be the foul-mouthed teenager that we knew from the games. Joel is Joel, although there's a chance that this version of Joel is a bit more unstable and troubled by his past. And Marlene seems spot on, at least at this point. And Tommy was very accurate as well, unless you're only looking skin deep. There are some funny moments sprinkled in here and there too, which is always a relief in a post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland. The production quality looks like it will be great throughout the first season. Not that that's surprising, but it's still reassuring to see. The infected stuck to the wall that they encountered was awesome. It looked really, really accurate. Now there's 2 important points we want to make here. First off, we felt that this first episode added some more flavor to the overall story and setting that didn't detract from the meat of the storyline we know from the game, at least thus far. And secondly, we're really not into zombie-themed anything. It's just not our jam in general. But for a story like this one, the whole post-apocalypse zombie thing isn't the focus. It's just the background for an incredible character-driven story. So if you're also not a zombie-oriented person, we think you'll be able to look past that. And the story of the first game really is incredible, and this show should be a slam dunk if they can just stick to the script. Time will tell, but so far so good, and we recommend you check the show out for yourself. A big thank you to everyone who made it to this point in the video. Let us know in the comments. Are you going to be tuning into this show? Did you play the games yourself? Are you concerned what modern Hollywood might do with this show? Hit the thumbs up if you liked the video, as it helps our content reach more fans out there. Also, click that subscribe button below to stay up to date on reviews of each episode of The Last of Us. Thank you again, and we'll catch you on the next one.